1 month into the start of the college football season, we've had plenty that has stood out to us so far, especially about these Ohio State Buckeyes who really look like a national championship and certainly at a minimum a Big Ten championship caliber team. We've got plenty that we learned from this past week. We addressed that on yesterday's podcast. In the meantime, as we start looking forward to the Michigan State Spartans, I'm going to tell you what we want to hear from Coach Day here this afternoon when he addresses the media. We'll talk a little bit about Big Ten football and what in the world is going on over in the West. Buckeye Breakdown Tuesday morning here on Buckeyes Now with Sports Illustrated. We've got the whole crew together as we cover Ohio State with our instant analysis from Ohio State.
There's something that doesn't feel right.
Unbelievable effort from him today. Is E.J. Liddell going to crack the first team All-Big Ten?
I think he can be the guy. I'm not trying to start a quarterback controversy.
He seems to have the durability. He certainly has the toughness. This is the question on a lot of people's minds here. Welcome to Buckeye Breakdown. Well, good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. Thanks for making Buckeye Breakdown part of your stop as you get ready for the Buckeyes and the Michigan State Spartans coming up this weekend. I'm Brendan Gulick, along with Craig Hyson, and you can find this podcast wherever you like to find your favorite podcasts. We're certainly available on Apple, Spotify, and the Google Podcast Store, but also a few other places. And we'd appreciate it if you'd subscribe to this YouTube channel so you can support us that way. Hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. You can jump in with us there too. BuckeyesNow.com, your latest for all your written home, especially as we preview this week against Sparty. Craig, what's going on, man?
Not much. How you doing?
Good. Looking forward to a Big Ten opponent in the East that always is a game you circle on your schedule every year. The reality is Michigan State probably isn't good enough to beat Ohio State here in 2022, but it certainly is a fun game to play because it's a team that historically has given Ohio State as good a challenge as anybody in this last decade, and it's never an easy place to go play up in East Lansing. So looking forward to that.
I'm sure the team's excited to get the travel bag out. You know, go stay in a hotel, do something different on Saturday. 5 home games in a row. Obviously, Coach Day after the game thanked the fans for supporting them through that 5-game stretch because, hey, everybody's got other things going on in their lives, you know, and it's nice to have a road game sometimes. You can do the yard work in the morning, sit down, watch the game, but I don't think anybody's been cutting grass on Saturdays in Columbus for a while. So I'm sure the team's excited to hop on the plane and get up to East Lansing. It's been a while since Michigan State has beat the Buckeyes there. I think last time was 99, I want to say, that they knocked them off. But, yeah, what was a game that we had circled on the calendar going into the season is not panned out that way, unfortunately. And we can get to that here in a little bit about the rest of the Big Ten. But, yeah, Michigan State might be at the top of the list for most underwhelming team in the country so far this year.
Yeah, and I think that, that certainly wasn't anticipated, right? We really thought coming into the year that maybe just Mel Tucker had the magic touch when it came to the transfer portal. He obviously, from 2 years ago to last year, there was a massive turnaround for the Spartans. And maybe that conversation should have started and stopped with Kenneth Walker. But there were other guys that played well for Sparty. But the Buckeyes haven't lost to Michigan State, period, since 2015. And actually, that's the last time Ohio State lost a conference game at home. Obviously, this is a road game. And to your point, the last time the Buckeyes lost in East Lansing was an awfully long time ago, November 6, 1999. They lost 23-7 that day. So it's been an awfully long time since the Buckeyes have come home unhappy from East Lansing. I don't think Ohio State's in trouble this weekend. I guess based on what we've seen around college football this year, you really, truly never know. But Michigan State's pass defense is not good. I think that's just a really kind way to say they're not having a very good year. And Ohio State has a quarterback and a group of wide receivers that all should get Heisman consideration. I just don't really see Michigan State giving the Buckeyes a hell of a test.
Yeah, with Michael Penix earlier in the year, with him being at Washington now, I think he put up almost 400 yards against Michigan State. This one could get ugly early. As long as I haven't looked at a forecast up there, but I feel like every time they play up there, it's raining. Unless it's downpouring, yeah, I'd expect the same from C.J. Stroud on Saturday.
Well, we'll kind of dive into more about this specific matchup as the week goes along too, but wanted to take a moment to to try and address, the fact that Coach Day is going to preview the game this afternoon and maybe just share a couple of our thoughts of things we hope to hear from him. And then after he's done talking, you can check out our YouTube channel, and Andrew Lind and I will give you a Buckeye report and react to what we heard. But in the meantime, I think the biggest question off the top is simply just about the health of the team, right? I mean, what's it going to take for Travion and Jackson Smith and Jigba and hopefully not long-term injuries for Tanner McAllister or Tyleek Williams or maybe other guys we don't even know about, because it seems like it's been, pretty much impossible to follow any kind of an injury report around this team this year.
That list is getting longer.
Yeah, you just kind of wonder. I mean, I've asked after the game last week, I asked Julian Fleming, I asked Zach Harrison, Javonte Jean-Baptiste, Teron Vincent, Steele Chambers, asked all of them about the intensity that they have been going through in practice, and just wondered, look, I'm not saying that they need to ratchet it down a little bit, but could practice on Tuesday and Wednesday being as hard as these guys talk about, could that be contributing somehow to what might be soft tissue injuries or things that guys just aren't able to work through? Because it's frustrating when you're not at full health.
It is. And that's a great question that you asked those guys. It's something as a fan I've been wondering about, because I heard Jim Knowles talk about leading up to the Toledo game. They wanted to do more one-on-one, good on good in practice. And I don't think, to your point, I don't think we're there quite yet that, hey, we need to ratchet it back. We need to do more scout team, maybe more walkthrough stuff. I don't think they're there yet injury-wise. If they have a linebacker go down or a D-end, or that's when you're probably going to start thinking about it with the lack of depth you have now in the secondary with the injuries back there. But yeah, it's a valid question. It's something, if they're talking about these practices being so hard earlier in the week and guys are getting banged up on Saturday and can't go, that list is getting to the point where you need to start thinking about it at least. I don't think we're to the point of putting a stop to good on good in practice, but yeah, that list keeps growing every week.
I want to know too what it's going to take for Jair Brown to get on the field a little bit more, because
that's my number one question.
Yep. To me, he's played well enough to earn the opportunities, and Denzel Burke is having a tough year, and there's no way that the coaching staff doesn't see that on film. And they obviously think or feel a certain way about Denzel, that they keep giving him opportunities to start games. You want to give guys a chance to work through things. You wouldn't pull CJ Stroud just because he had a bad day. But eventually, somewhere along the way, like when you're trying to evaluate where the Buckeyes could be vulnerable, there aren't a whole lot of areas there. And the reality is they're probably not going to lose until November 26th, when they're even going to play another legitimate, competent, big-time team. I'm not trying to knock Penn State, man. They're decent, but I don't think Penn State is on Ohio State's level. It's not going to be the whiteout game. It's Ohio State has shown it can stop the run this year. I don't think Penn State has the kind of aerial attack to be able to hit downfield shots against Ohio State. I don't see how Ohio State goes to Happy Valley and loses. I'm actually more worried about playing Taulia Tagovailoa and Maryland than I am playing Penn State, but that's looking down the road here a bit. Again, I know there's a lot of eyeballs on the secondary. I know people are a little frustrated by some of the things they've seen, and Denzel Burke has taken the lion's share of the criticism, because while he has certainly made some good plays this year, he's also the only one that seems to be consistently making bad plays or getting beat, and that's got to stop.
The midseason number change is concerning. I don't know what's up with that. I want to find out why he changed his number, because if guys are giving him a hard time, it's like, hey, who's new number 10 out there? It's the same guy. So that weird move there. I've never seen that. But for Jair Brown not to play Saturday with what we saw, especially because Jim Knowles has had a quick trigger on guys. So with Denzel Burke giving up another back shoulder touchdown, and J.K. Johnson's getting that start because Cam Brown's out. I was a little surprised we didn't see Jair get in there. Do you bench Denzel right away after that touchdown? Probably not. You probably completely crush that kid's confidence totally if you do that.
Jair played. He didn't come in when it mattered.
Yeah. Right. Right. He got the garbage time. You're right, but
Yep.
it's the concern level with Denzel Burke is starting to get up there a good amount. I think on yesterday's show, I think I said 6.5 with Penn State. With Michigan State having Peyton Thorne at quarterback, who gives it up just as much as he does to his team as the other team. I'm really hoping this week Denzel has a good game and gets that confidence back. 'Cause if he has another bad game against this level of quarterback and the receiving core that they're going up against, then the alarm bells are really singing. And it might be time when Cam Brown gets back to maybe try a game of Cam Brown and J.K. Johnson.
Yeah, agreed, for sure. Okay, I want to turn the attention to just some Big Ten talk here for a moment. You know, the big news over the weekend is that Paul Chryst gets let go in Wisconsin. And, I mean, I understand the general trend in college football right now. I don't like it. And, I mean, it's certainly cold-blooded, but it feels a little phony. And let me kind of explain this for a second. You know, part of the problem is that we have a December signing day because some of these schools decide they want to cut ties with coaches mid-season so that they can, quote unquote, not lose ground in recruiting because of the signing day as much or as little as a couple months away. That's definitely part of the problem. And if we moved the signing day, maybe we wouldn't see so many of these mid-season firings because you couldn't use that to justify it anymore. We've already seen several Power 5 coaches lose their jobs already mid-year, and I just think it's kind of a shame because, you know, we're turning college football into something that it shouldn't be. And Paul Chryst is the latest example. He went 67-26 over his time at Wisconsin, 43-18 in the Big Ten. He won 3 Big Ten West titles. He finished top 15 in the country 3 times. He twice won a New Year's Six bowl game, was 2 times a Big Ten Coach of the Year. He's a Wisconsin alum. He grew up around the program. Like, what are you doing? I understand that maybe things looked a little bit better toward the beginning of his tenure than they had recently. And when your athletic director comes out literally this past week, even after they got curb stomped by Ohio State, newsflash, everybody is right now. When your athletic director comes out this week and says his job's not in jeopardy, we are confident and comfortable with him leading the program, and everything is good, to then turn around and have a bad performance at home against Illinois for sure, and against your former coach in Brett Bielema, and to suddenly pull the rug out from underneath him. I mean, I know Herm Edwards was fired. I know Colorado, Georgia Tech obviously made changes, and Scott Frost was let go. This one stunned me. I was floored that Wisconsin like maybe in the offseason his seat could get a little warm, but to fire Paul Chryst, I thought was outrageous. And it makes me wonder, okay, what if you're firing a guy, you better have a plan. And the only things I can think of right now about the plan for Wisconsin are that either they really want to see what Jim Leonhard could do running a program, and you're going to give him 2 months to showcase that he can do it, or in the weirdest world we've ever lived in, Wisconsin and Nebraska are fighting for Kansas's coach. And Lance Leopold maybe is like the hottest under 500 overall coaching record guy. Because for those that don't know Lance's background, he won 6 national championships at Division III Wisconsin Whitewater before he went to Buffalo, before he went to Kansas. And I mean, Lance is not like one of these, you know, young, hot new coaches that everybody wants to throw a bunch of money at. He's in his like mid to upper 50s, but he's a good football coach. There is some component of like, you can either coach ball or you can't. And Lance Leopold is a really, really good football coach. Maybe Wisconsin doesn't want to have a guy of that caliber who has ties to Wisconsin football in general. Maybe they don't want to see him go to Nebraska. I don't know. I can't see a situation where either Jim Leonhard or Lance Leopold doesn't take that job. And if it's somebody else, I feel like Wisconsin whiffed. But I just don't understand the firing in the first place. I watched the press conference from Wisconsin yesterday, actually 2 days ago on Sunday, and their athletic director said that the $16.4 million buyout for Coach Chryst was not the number they eventually settled on.
I saw that.
I don't get it, man. I think it's a bad look for college football when you do it.
I think it boils down. I think you nailed it with it. All stems from the December signing day, in my opinion, too. It's turning into the NFL kind of where, hey, we need to get our coach fired so we can scoop the next guy. That's what it's going to turn into with the December signing day. If these schools aren't liking what's going on through week 5, week 6, I think this is the new trend. You fire your coach either. I don't know if you hire the outside guy right away mid-season. I don't think we'll probably see that if there's a hot name on the market. I don't think that's going to start being the trend. You'll have the interim guy, but you almost have a backdoor deal with that hot name on the market. But let me pose this to you real quick. I don't know if it's something that we'll see because you mentioned Kansas's coach is probably being a replacement. What about Toledo's coach? And he brings DeQuan Finn with him behind that offensive line. That could be something intriguing. To me, Wisconsin needs to hire an offensive guy. With the offensive line, they haven't had creativity on offense since they had Russell Wilson. And Graham Mertz has not lived up to the billing. So if they could, if I'm Jason Candle's agent, I'm making a call. Hey, I'd be interested, and I'm bringing a quarterback to probably do better than Graham Mertz.
There are people that think Candle might be on the hot seat in Toledo, and I think you're onto something. I would counter with, if Wisconsin doesn't offer Jim Leonhard the job, how realistic is it that he stays? Because any offensive-minded coach in the country would give him a legitimate shot at staying on as a defensive coordinator. But what are his aspirations? I don't know Jim Leonhard. I don't know what his aspirations are. I know that he's had one of the best defenses in college football basically every year during his tenure. If he wants to run a program and he's going to get a shot to show in the meantime that he can, if they play reasonably good football, I don't know how they could afford to not give him that opportunity, especially when he turned down an opportunity to coach with the Green Bay Packers to stay on and coach Wisconsin, even though he lost 7 starters this year on defense. I agree they need an offensive injection. But again, that's why I think it's stupid that they fired Paul Chryst in the middle of the season, because unless you know Leonard's the guy and you're going to give it to him, you are really risking losing him in addition to Paul Chryst. And they must have felt like Chryst wasn't the guy, and that's why they were moving on from him. But it's just not a move that makes a lot of sense to me. Wisconsin doesn't fire football coaches. This is the first time they fired a guy. I think it was like 1989 was the last thing time I read that they did it.
What's this say about Michigan?
Had Barry Alvarez's blessing in doing this because of his involvement both with the school still and with the Big Ten. There's no way they didn't run this by Barry. I don't get it, man. I really don't get it.
Another big question I have is, what's this say about Michigan? I think Chryst and Harbaugh were hired the same year.
Not only
has more
that,
wins.
they had basically the same winning percentage. They won 72 or 73% of their games. Now, the difference, Harbaugh finally got over the hump last year, won the Big Ten, and made the college football playoff where they proceeded to get curb stomped. But at least Wisconsin's been in the Big Ten title game several times. Again, several top 15 finishes. They've won New Year's 6 games. They've had Jonathan Taylor's absolutely one of the best running backs in the NFL now, and was arguably the best running back in the last several years, not just the year that he played college football. Braylon Allen tweeted, "Hey, nobody in this locker room wanted Coach Chryst fired." Again, this is not supposed to be a knock Wisconsin show, but I don't get it, and I don't like the direction college football is going with some of this stuff. It's a brutal business, man. And I mean, how are you supposed to tell a guy that wins almost on average over 93 games? He won 3 out of 4. 93 games with a winning percentage of almost 750, and you're fired. Are you kidding me?
Right. And translating that into who Ohio State has this week in Michigan State, if you're Mel Tucker and you see that come across, you're like, whoa, am I next? If they're pulling the trigger on a guy that won like that, and I had a team that was supposed to be pretty dang good going into the season, and I'm sitting in last in the division right now, close to last, it's like, okay, I might be next, because they gave him that big deal, that 10, what do you get? $100 million.
$100 million.
So it's like, hey, I might be next if I don't clean it up. If they're firing coaches, and it stems back to the original point. It's the December signing day that I think is going to accelerate these firings. But yeah, Mel Tucker right now, that investment on him, the return on that initial investment's not looking too hot.
No, and look, they're probably going to struggle this weekend against the Buckeyes. I don't know what the final score is going to be. It's early in the week, and we'll kind of dive in more as the week goes along on some of the things we're going to watch for. But their pass defense has not looked good at all the last couple of years, and it doesn't look any better right now. And they're about to play, hands down, number one, the best offense in the country. And I don't know how they don't get shredded this weekend. I mean, I fully expect C.J. Stroud to have a big day. I think the offense is going to absolutely put up 500 yards, and there's no way they're going to score fewer than 40 points unless they play blindfolded. I mean, I just don't see it.
Yeah. Maryland putting up 500 yards against them, and Penix at Washington throwing for almost 400. It's going to be ugly for Michigan State on defense Saturday.
Yep. Any other thoughts you want to hear from Coach Day as he talks to the media this afternoon?
Just he always doesn't say much, but just like you said, the injuries, the list gets longer. Second thing would just be Jair Brown, getting him in more meaningful snaps. And you got to be careful the way you phrase that question so you get a real answer out of Coach Day. But almost wanting to feel out how short the leash is getting on Denzel Burke. Like, hey, is there a rotation with Jair in there and J.K. Johnson until Cam Brown gets back, or what's that look like? But yeah, those are a couple things mainly from Coach Day, and then just going into Saturday, this game not being what it was supposed to be going into the season. I'm sure the guys are excited to play their first road game, go play against where the fans are rooting against you. It's always exciting to go into an environment on the road. It's not going to be that hostile environment that we thought it would be. I think it's 4:00 kick Saturday, but just keeping that competitive stamina up. I'm sure the Michigan State crowd's probably going to be a little bit sleepy. It'll probably be I wouldn't be shocked if there's more Ohio State fans in there and you hear the OHIO going around the stadium. But I just really hope as a fan that this game lived up to what we thought it would be. It's just a major letdown that Michigan State is this bad.
Yeah, it is. And again, like, I want the Big Ten to be better. I'm frustrated and disappointed by the fact that I don't see really high quality play from around the league. I thought maybe Minnesota could be making a move, and then they played this weekend.
Purdue, once again, it's Purdue. Every year, it's like they're like the bad ex-girlfriend that just keeps coming back. It's like, hey, leave me, Big Ten West, leave me alone. Just Purdue, either step up and be that team in the West, or just go away. Quit ruining the one good team that we have on that side. They need to get rid of the divisions. It's getting to that point, honestly, where it's just like the Big Ten West is just unbearable right now to watch.
It's frustrating. It's definitely frustrating to watch for sure. All right, we're looking forward to hearing from Coach Day. We'll stream his press conference live as we do every Tuesday. He's scheduled to speak starting at noon. We are also expected to hear from Jim Knowles and from running backs coach Tony Alford. So make sure you catch that over on our YouTube channel starting right around 12 noon Eastern time here this afternoon. In the meantime, please subscribe to our YouTube channel for more videos like this. We'd love to give you our reaction and our thoughts and opinions on the team. We'll post daily podcasts throughout the course of the week to get you ready for the Buckeyes and the Spartans. And for all the latest on Ohio State football, head over to BuckeyesNow.com. For Craig Hyson, I'm Brendan Gulick. Thanks for joining us here this morning. Look forward to seeing you over at the Woody here in just a little while.